Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into it. We're on a mission, you could say.
A mission? What kind?
To extract the real juice, the practical know-how from this material called Everyday Business English.
Okay. I see.
Think of it as your shortcut, maybe, to feeling more confident and clear in, well, all sorts of professional chats.
Exactly. And it's a great set of materials we've got. Covers so many everyday situations, doesn't it?
It really does. What's in there?
Well, you've got phone calls, company visits, talking about jobs, presentations, meetings.
Even the social side.
Yeah, even socializing, plus travel and, of course, email. It's really designed for people building that solid foundation, intermediate level.
Right. And our goal here is to make those skills really click for you, the listener.
We're not just about, memorizing lists of phrases. That's not the point.
No, definitely not. We want to understand why certain phrases work, spot those subtle cultural bits.
The things that can make or break a conversation sometimes.
Absolutely. And hopefully equip you with some communication superpowers for the workday.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Okay, let's dive straight into something we all do constantly. Telephoning.
Right. The material kicks off with some, foundational phrases for calls.
The basics.
Yeah, things like clearly asking for someone, can I speak to name, please? Simple, direct.
And ending the call.
And wrapping up professionally. I'll call you back. Or just a simple, polite, thanks for calling.
Seems obvious, maybe, but getting that polished start and finish really sets the tone, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. First impressions count, even on the phone.
Okay, but what about when things aren't quite so smooth? Like if you need to check something or the person isn't actually there.
Good point. The source gives us handy phrases for that too, like, could you just spell that for me?
Essential sometimes.
Or the standard, would you like to leave a message?
Yeah, but it makes you think. Just saying, can I take a message? Is okay. But maybe something more proactive, like, would you like me to take a message and make sure they get it as soon as they're back?
That's a nice touch. Shows you're really on the ball, paying attention.
Small tweaks, big difference sometimes.
And what's really fascinating here, I think, is how the language reflects the culture.
How so?
Well, take reasons for being away from work. In British English, you'll often hear things like parental leave or compassionate leave.
Okay.
But in American English, it's more common to hear family leave and bereavement leave.
Ah, interesting. And holiday versus vacation, of course.
Exactly. And it's not just about the word itself, is it? It's kind of about understanding the cultural norms around these events.
That's such a key point. Imagine using the wrong term with an international colleague. It might not be a disaster, but
it could just create a little bit of distance unintentionally. Shows you haven't quite, tuned into their way of phrasing things.
It's about showing you get their context. And the source also touches on those tech gremlins we all face on calls.
Oh, yes. Bad lines.
Phrases like, you're breaking up, could you repeat that? So necessary when clarity is vital.
Precisely. And it's a good reminder for all of us, really, to be patient and clear when tech issues happen.
Definitely.
Also, the material includes an example of those automated systems.
Press 1 for sales.
Exactly like that.
Yeah.
If you are calling about an existing order, please press 1. Following those instructions correctly. It sounds small.
But it shows respect for their process.
Yeah, and attention to detail. It just makes things smoother for everyone.
Right. Okay, moving on from the phone to actually being there face-to-face. Let's talk about a company visit.
Good transition. This section is really packed with practical phrases for navigating, the real world of offices and meetings.
Giving directions, receiving them.
Exactly. From understanding directions like go past the station and take the first turning on the left.
Which can be surprisingly tricky sometimes.
To knowing where to go inside, like Mr. Ekberg's office is the 5th door on the right.
And those first greetings when you arrive or meet someone.
Crucial. Initial greetings, yes. Hello, John. Good to see you again. Or the standard, pleased to meet you. Think about the confidence you project when you handle these basic interactions smoothly.
Totally. And it's here, again, that those British and American English differences really pop up, isn't it? Sometimes in quite mundane places.
You do. Like service station versus
gas station or filling station in the U.S.
Right. Or car registration number becomes license plate number.
Lift versus elevator. That's a classic.
A very common one. And you've also got shops becoming stores
Motorway turning into freeway or expressway.
And a roundabout being a traffic circle, or sometimes just an intersection.
And traffic lights can be stoplights. It sounds like trivia, but it's really not, is it?
No, not at all. Imagine you're trying to give directions to a taxi driver in a new city using the wrong term.
Could lead to real confusion, frustration, maybe cost you time.
Absolutely. And if we think bigger picture, these aren't just, random word swaps. They often reflect different histories, different ways things developed.
So being aware shows cultural sensitivity.
Exactly. It helps prevent those slightly awkward misunderstandings. So for you, listening, maybe think, when you travel for work or host international visitors, knowing a few of these terms can genuinely help build rapport.
That makes sense. The company visit section also gets into introducing your own company, right?
Yes. Talking about its size, what it actually does. They give useful examples like, we're in the renewable energy sector. We employ just over 2,000 people globally.
Clear, concise.
It also touches on discussing the company's history, its journey, and even, the practicalities of giving a visitor a tour.
It's about crafting that narrative, isn't it? Not just spitting out facts.
Precisely. It's about telling your company's story in an engaging, informative way. And the material naturally includes how to talk about specific business activities, like we specialize in manufacturing sustainable packaging solutions. Or maybe our online platform provides a comprehensive price comparison for eco-friendly products. See how those phrases immediately paint a clearer picture.
Yeah, much clearer. And understanding the market context is vital too. Does it cover that?
It does touch on it, mentioning the importance of different regions, North America, Europe, Asia Pacific, and the key things that drive competition, like price or reputation.
Which makes you think, how would you tailor your company intro for someone from, say, the Asia Pacific market versus someone from Europe?
Exactly. Highlighting what matters most to them.
So this raises a question for you, the listener. How much do you currently think about your audience's background and priorities when you communicate about your company?
Even small tweaks in language can make a really big difference in how your message lands.
Okay, let's pivot now. Let's talk about job information. This is relevant to almost everyone at some point, right? Whether you're looking for a job or hiring someone.
Absolutely. The source gives essential phrases for discussing your responsibilities clearly. Something like, I'm responsible for key account management.
And I report directly to the head of sales. That kind of directness leaves no room for confusion.
Exactly. It also covers discussing the qualifications needed for a role and what a typical day looks like.
Things like work hours, breaks, fundamental stuff.
Fundamental details that set expectations properly. You need everyone on the same page. Have you ever been in a situation where unclear expectations caused problems?
Oh, definitely. It happens all the time if you're not careful.
And what's interesting here is how the material talks about new appointments, focusing on the skills needed. A classic example is strong analytical and problem-solving skills are essential.
You see that phrasing a lot in job descriptions.
You do. And it also highlights talking about the money side salary plus commission or bonus and those important benefits.
Like medical insurance, maybe gym access, promotion prospects, the whole package.
Right. It's about painting a complete picture of the opportunity.
But it also tackles the tougher side of employment too.
Yes, the less comfortable but equally important things, like redundancy and retirement. The example given is something like, due to the recent merger, approximately 150 positions will be made redundant.
Requires clear and sensitive language in those situations.
Very much so. And again, those British and American variations pop up.
Like what in this context?
Well, a football team in the UK.
Is a soccer team in the US. That's a common one.
And compulsory redundancies in British English are often just called layoffs in American English.
Knowing those distinctions is pretty vital in a global company, especially during difficult times. Avoids misinterpretation.
Definitely. Adds clarity when things are already sensitive.
Okay, let's tackle a skill that can feel quite high stakes for many people. Presentations.
Ah, yes. Standing up in front of everyone. The source offers a really solid structure to help you, well, shine.
How does it start?
It starts with those crucial opening lines that set the right tone. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here today. Polite, welcoming.
Sets a professional atmosphere.
Then it guides you on smoothly moving between points, using phrases like, so moving on to our market analysis for the next quarter. These are like verbal signposts.
Keep the audience following your logic.
Exactly. Keeps them engaged.
But let's be real, things don't always go perfectly to plan, do they?
No, they certainly don't. The material covers handling questions effectively. That's an interesting point. Let me address that briefly.
And even those moments when tech fails you?
Yes. The classic, excuse me for a moment, it seems the projector isn't responding. Or the bulb breaks.
We've all been there. It's about staying calm and professional, right?
Absolutely. Keep your cool. And a strong presentation needs a clear endpoint.
A good wrap-up.
Yes. The source gives phrases for summarizing key points, as we've seen today. And concluding gracefully, maybe with, I'd like to end by reiterating our key objectives and thanking you for your attention.
It's very clear. Now, data. Presentations often involve facts and figures.
Very often. The material covers presenting that data, including how to describe trends, upward growth, downward trends, maybe things holding steady.
Sales going up, churn going down.
Right. And it stresses not just showing graphs, but clearly explaining what those visuals mean. Have you ever sat through a presentation where they just flash charts up?
With no explanation, yes. It's incredibly unhelpful.
Exactly. Clear language is paramount there. And just a quick reminder, again, on spelling, organize with an S in British English.
Versus organize with a Z in American. Same for organization and organization.
And study programs versus study programs. Just be consistent, especially in written handouts.
Good tip. Okay, next up, the backbone of so much business activity, meetings.
Meetings. The source covers the whole life cycle, really, from setting them up to follow-up.
How does it start?
With the practical side, arranging them, maybe by phone or email, and even the polite way to postpone if something comes up.
Which happens. Then, during the meeting itself.
It gets into working through the agenda. Essential phrases like, has everyone had a chance to look at the agenda? Just making sure everyone's aligned from the start.
And contributing effectively, not just sitting there.
Right. How to report back on things you were asked to do. Like, certainly, as requested, I followed up with the marketing team, and they've confirmed.
Showing you did your action item.
And also, how to steer the discussion towards agreement. Which, let's be honest, is usually the goal, isn't it?
Hopefully.
What's quite insightful here is the guidance on making your point clearly, but also
listening,
acknowledging and responding to strong points from others. Even if you don't fully agree, it's about having a constructive conversation.
Not just winning an argument.
Precisely. And the meeting doesn't just end when everyone leaves the room, does it?
No, the work often starts then.
Exactly. The material highlights follow-up actions. Maybe a quick call to clarify something, or definitely sending out minutes by email.
So everyone remembers what was decided and who's doing what. Have you ever left a meeting totally unclear on the next steps?
It's a classic meeting frustration. Hugely inefficient.
Yeah.
And just a quick language note again. Favor with O in British spelling.
Versus favor with just O in American. And emphasize with S versus emphasize with S. Again, know your audience or just be consistent.
Right. Consistency is key.
Okay, shifting tone a bit. Let's talk about something maybe more relaxed, but still vital for business, entertaining and socializing.
Absolutely. Building those professional relationships often happens outside formal meetings. The source covers those first gestures, like offering coffee or tea.
Would you care for some coffee or tea? Sounds polite.
And also, the skill of helping someone with a menu, especially if you're hosting international guests and the dishes are unfamiliar, that's always appreciated.
Definitely. And just the basics of ordering a meal, asking for the bill politely.
These are social skills, yes, but they absolutely extend into the business world. Makes you a more comfortable host or guest.
Builds rapport.
Beyond the logistics, it also touches on just starting conversations. Maybe a simple, so what brings you to this conference?
Breaking the ice.
And navigating those first chats about family or shared interests. There's even a nice bit of cultural advice mentioned, like just be casual. I'm sure they'd appreciate a small gesture like some flowers.
Shows thoughtfulness.
It does. And it also wisely mentions handling potentially sensitive topics carefully and, importantly, how to bring a chat to a close gracefully.
Without it being awkward, knowing when to wrap things up is a real skill.
It really is. And guess what? Linguistic variations pop up even here.
In social chat, like what?
Well, do you take milk and sugar is very common British English when offering tea or coffee.
Whereas Americans might say,
do you use milk and sugar?
Perhaps.
A subtle difference.
And the classic food one.
Mashed potato, singular in British English, often mashed potatoes, plural in American.
Fascinating how these little things persist, but again, shows understanding if you notice them.
Exactly. Okay, let's shift gears again to travel. So common in modern business, and an area where clear communication can really save you hassle.
Oh, for sure. Airport stress is real.
Indeed. The source covers a whole range of travel scenarios, checking in for your flight, hiring a car,
Navigating train journeys.
and crucially, booking and checking into hotels. Useful phrases like, "I have a reservation under the name of your name for 2 nights, please."
Smooths the process. But what about when things go wrong at the airport? Delays, missed connections.
Yeah, those inevitable hiccups. The material gives you language for those stressful times. Knowing how to politely ask about alternatives or maybe compensation can make a difference.
Take some of the panic away if you know what to say.
And it also covers those frustrating hotel problems, room mix-ups, issues with the bill, equips you to address them calmly and clearly.
A polite, clear explanation usually works best.
Always. And travel is another area where that British-American difference is quite noticeable.
Like the hire car thing.
Exactly. What the British call a hire car, Americans call a rental car.
And the floor numbering in hotels, that can genuinely catch people out.
It really can. What's the first floor in the UK or Europe is often the second floor of the US because they start with the ground floor.
Always worth double checking which system they use.
Definitely. Okay, finally, we arrive at emailing. The unsung hero of so much business communication.
We spend so much time doing it.
We do. The source covers a whole spectrum of email types and the kind of language that fits each one.
Like writing that first contact email or a more formal message.
Exactly. And handling just everyday back and forth emails, arranging future meetings. It offers templates and key phrases to help you be clear and professional.
What about things like saying thank you or responding to invitations?
It covers those essentials too. Expressing thanks properly, accepting an invitation with enthusiasm, or, sometimes trickier, declining politely but keeping the relationship positive.
Choosing the right tone and formality is key there.
Absolutely. And it doesn't shy away from the more difficult emails either.
Like addressing problems.
Yes, addressing problems constructively. Also, sharing good news effectively, making general announcements clearly, or just conveying important information. It gives guidance on structuring those for impact.
Makes sense. And I'm guessing more British versus American nuances.
You guessed it, especially in closings. Formal British emails often use "yours sincerely."
While sincerely is the standard American formal closing.
Right, and those spelling variations, again, like inquire versus inquire. Maintaining consistency in your writing really helps project professionalism.
Good point. So, wow, that was quite the tour.
It was.
As our deep dive wraps up, we've really navigated a huge amount of practical, everyday business English from that first phone call.
All the way to hitting send on a polished email. All grounded in the scenarios from the source material.
Yeah, we've seen how this material gives a really solid base for communicating well in, well, tons of professional situations.
And highlighting not just the words, but those subtle cultural and language variations that, really matter for clear understanding.
So we really encourage you listening to maybe reflect on which of these areas felt most relevant to your own work life right now.
Is it maybe brushing up on meeting skills?
Or feeling a bit more confident making small talk, or just making sure your emails always hit the right note?
Yeah, and this leads us to a final thought to leave you with. How can really paying conscious attention to these nuances, the vocabulary, the cultural expectations, the tone, how can that tangibly improve your daily interactions at work?
And maybe help you avoid those little misunderstandings that can sometimes happen. Perhaps think about specific situations coming up where these insights could be especially valuable for you. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to sift through information and pull out the key insights for you.
And today, our focus is squarely on you, the learner.
That's right. You want knowledge, you want it fast, you love those aha moments, and you definitely want to skip the overwhelm.
So our mission today is to give you a shortcut, really, to the fundamentals of business English. We're using the English for Everyone Business English 1 coursebook as our guide.
Think of it as your express pass to understanding essential workplace communication.
Exactly. We're looking at everything from, introducing yourself and others, talking about daily routines,
nationalities, making requests, even a bit about company history and career development.
But this isn't going to be some dry grammar lesson.
Definitely not. It's about practical skills you can actually use in different professional situations. So let's kick things off with the first hurdle, introductions. How do you make a good first impression?
Well, the first thing to think about is formality. It really sets the tone, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So in a more, let's say, traditional setting, something like, "Good morning, my name is Alicia Sharma," shows respect. It builds that initial professional trust.
Right. It signals you understand the context. What about something more relaxed, like maybe meeting a new team member?
In that case, yeah, something simple like, "Hi, I'm Lee," works just fine. The source actually gives a few good options.
Like what?
Well, polite phrases like, "My name is," or the shorter, "My name's," or even just "I'm," and then you usually follow up with something like, "Pleased to meet you."
Or, "It's nice to meet you."
Exactly. Or even just "Good to meet you" for those more casual moments after the "Hi, I'm" part.
So it's all about adapting, matching your language to the vibe of the place. What if you're introducing other people?
Same principle applies, really. Formally, you might say, "May I introduce Maria Diaz? Maria heads up our European sales." See how you add that bit of useful context?
Ah, yeah, that's helpful. And informally.
Much simpler. Just, "Amit, meet Edward." Quick and direct.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, something that seems really basic, but the materials mention it specifically. The alphabet and spelling. Why focus on that?
It sounds elementary, I know. But clear pronunciation of letters and accurate spelling are, well, vital in business.
I suppose so, especially with names or codes.
Think about spelling your email address over the phone, or a product code, or someone's name, maybe with international colleagues. Accuracy is just non-negotiable sometimes. A simple mistake can lead to, bigger issues.
Right. Lost emails, wrong orders.
Precisely. The source even reminds you of the pronunciation for each letter. And there's an audio exercise mentioned for recognizing names being spelled out. It really underlines how practical this is.
Okay, good point. Let's shift gears then. Talk about the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
Workplace routines. This is where the present simple tense comes in, right?
That's the one. For you, the learner, the main takeaway is use the present simple for regular actions, daily tasks, things that happen routinely.
So like I check my emails every morning.
Exactly. And there's a small grammar point here that's quite important. For I, you, we, they, you just use the base verb. We prepare the reports.
Okay.
But for he, she, or it, you usually add an S. So Justin sets the agenda, or Stephanie works remotely. It's a small change, but it makes your English sound, correct.
And what about the verb to be? That's a bit different, isn't it?
It is. It has its own forms in the present simple. I have a project manager. Me is an excellent developer. They are busy this week. It's about describing current states or roles.
The source mentions an example, doesn't it? About someone new in a cafe.
Yeah, Zoe's new job. Her manager explains the daily routine when the cafe opens, when staff arrive, break times, closing tasks, all using the present simple, because these things happen regularly.
So understanding and using this tense correctly helps you talk clearly about your job, your responsibilities, the workflow, stuff like that.
Absolutely. It's fundamental.
Okay, moving on. Business around the world. This feels very relevant today. Talking about where people and products come from.
It really is. And there's a useful distinction the material makes. You can talk about origin, using from, plus the country.
Like, these components are from Germany.
Right. Or you can use the nationality adjective. These components are German. Both work. The second one's maybe a bit more concise.
And the book lists quite a few nationality adjectives. British, Spanish, Chilean, South Korean, a whole bunch.
And it points out the different endings, which is helpful. You've got D's like Japanese and like Mexican-ish like Polish, D in like Korean, E in like Brazilian, and then a few irregular ones like French or Greek.
Recognizing those patterns must help you learn them faster.
Definitely. And another point about from, it's not just for countries. You also use it for your company or department.
Oh, right. Like, I'm George, I'm from the marketing department.
Exactly. Or I'm Nisha from accounts.
Right.
It helps people place you within the organization quickly.
The source had that nice example, too, about Guitar City. Their guitars use recycled materials, not rainforest wood, which is a key point. And they're painted by artists from Poland, Kenya, Mexico, Laos.
Yeah, it shows how origin and, ethical sourcing can be part of a brand's identity.
Okay, let's tackle another core skill, asking questions. How do we form simple questions correctly?
The material focuses on two main ways for simple questions. First, using the verb to be.
Right, so if you have a statement like, this is the final version, you just flip it. Is this the final version?
Pretty much, yeah. Subject-verb inversion, technically. Simple swap.
And the other way, using do or does.
Correct. Use do or does at the start, then the subject, then the base form of the main verb. So they start early becomes do they start early.
And he has a key becomes.
Does he have a key? Remember, does goes with he, she, it. The main verb drops the S.
Got it. So examples like, does your laptop have a webcam? Are Pretty common.
Very practical. And the source mentions an audio exercise for ordering the words and questions correctly. Good practice for getting that structure right.
And it also touches on the question words what, why, who, where, how, when, essential for getting specific info.
Absolutely essential. Mastering these basic question forms is key for, well, understanding things, getting information, just keeping conversations going in any professional setting.
Okay, let's talk practicalities. Exchanging contact details, how business gets done, really.
Yeah, and politeness matters here too. You wouldn't just say, give me your number.
Hopefully not.
Right. So phrases like, do you have a website? Or how can I reach you? Are standard. The source notes a UK variant too. Have you got an email address?
And informally.
You might hear, give me a ring sometime, but that's definitely more casual.
And what info typically goes on a business card? Seems obvious, but good to cover.
Sure. Name, usually job title, company name, address, phone number, email address, sometimes a website.
And pronunciation for emails, the at is at, the dot is dot.
Exactly. And if you have like .co.uk, you usually say the letters .co.uk.
Good tip. Now, short answers. Why are they important?
It's about efficiency and politeness, really. If someone asks, is this report ready? Just saying yes can sound a bit blunt.
Ah, right.
So using the short form, yes it is, or no it isn't, sounds more complete and, well, polite. You echo the verb from the question. Does it work? Yes it does. No it doesn't.
Makes sense. Shows you were listening properly, too. Okay, let's broaden out describing yourself in your workplace.
Right. Beyond just name and title, little things matter like articles, a, and, the. Remember, and before vowel sounds, not just letters. An hour, for example.
Good one. And the for specific things we both know about.
Yes. And the source briefly mentions the zero article, basically, not using a, and, or the when talking about plural things generally. We need computers. Not the computers, unless you mean specific ones.
Then there's vocabulary for employment status.
Yeah, knowing the difference between full-time, part-time, permanent, temporary, working shifts. It's basic, but essential HR language.
And the source lists a load of job titles. Engineer, tour guide, mechanic, journalist, PA, all sorts.
It's a good starting list. And for describing the place itself, you use there is for singular things.
There is a coffee machine.
And there are for plurals. There are 3 meeting rooms on this floor. Simple structure, very useful.
Okay, how about describing people? Personal qualities. Using adjectives.
Adjectives are key here. The source reminds us they usually go before the noun, a reliable colleague, or after the verb to be, she is very organized.
And it mentions using very or really for emphasis.
Yes, but also a good tip. Maybe avoid negative adjectives about people in business contexts unless absolutely necessary. Keep it constructive.
Fair point. Now, possessives. Showing ownership or connection, my, your, his, her.
Right, those are possessive adjectives. They come before the noun. My report, her presentation. Then you have possessive pronouns. Mine, yours, his, hers, its, ours, theirs.
What's the difference in usage?
Pronouns stand alone. They replace the noun phrase, whose laptop is this? It's mine, not it's mine laptop.
Gotcha. Adjective plus noun or pronoun on its own.
Exactly. And don't forget the possessive apostrophes is. Jeremy is Pepe's manager. That's one manager. But Jeremy is my colleague's manager. The apostrophe after the is means multiple colleagues share that manager. Subtle, but important.
Very important distinction. Okay, comparisons. We do this all the time at work, right? Comparing options, performance.
Constantly. So comparatives. For shorter adjectives, you usually add faster, cheaper. For longer ones, you use more efficient, more complicated.
And you always need then when you make the comparison.
Generally, yes.
Yeah.
This process is faster than the old one. Our solution is more comprehensive than theirs.
And those irregulars, good becomes better.
Bad becomes worse. Far becomes farther or further. Yeah, those just need learning.
And superlatives, for the most at least.
Right. Similar idea. Est for short adjectives, fastest, cheapest, or use most for longer ones, most efficient, most complicated, and you usually use the before them, the fastest way, the most important factor.
And irregulars here too. Good, better.
Best, bad, worse, worst, far, farther, further, farthest, furthest. Same irregular roots.
Okay, useful stuff. Let's loop back to routines for a sec, but focus on time. Prepositions of time and duration. Getting specific about when.
Crucial for scheduling. Words like by, before, after, on, in, at. They pinpoint moments or deadlines. Submit it by 5 p.m. The meeting is on Monday at 10 a.m. We'll start in 5 minutes.
And for periods of time?
You use from.to or from.an. I work from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Or prepositions like since, during, until. He's been here since 2010. Please be quiet during the presentation. Wait until lunchtime.
What about travel? Getting to work?
Yes. The source says you usually take or catch public transport like a train or bus. I take the train. Did you catch the early bus?
And go by?
You use go by plus the transport type. I go by car. She goes by bike. And of course, you walk or go on foot.
Little details, but they make you sound more natural.
They really do.
Okay, frequency. How often things happen. And touching on free time.
Adverbs of frequency are your friends here. Always, usually, often, sometimes, occasionally, rarely, never. They tell us how regularly something occurs.
And things like hourly, daily, weekly, monthly.
Exactly, more specific timings. And remember where they usually go in a sentence. After be, I am often busy, but before other verbs, I usually start early, though some can go at the start or end too.
A free time vocabulary.
Yeah, the source lists things like reading, visiting museums, playing sports, meeting friends, watching TV, useful for small talk, building connections with colleagues beyond just work.
Helps you sound like a real person, not just a job title.
Precisely. It's about building rapport.
All right, let's jump into the past. The past simple tense. Talking about completed actions, past projects.
Key tense for discussing history or finished work. For regular verbs, it's usually simple. Add EO. Work becomes worked. Ask becomes asked.
But watch out for spelling changes, right? Like verbs ending in E or Y.
Yes. Hope becomes hoped. Just add ed. Try becomes tried. YTSD. Those little rules.
And then the irregulars. The ones you just have to learn.
Unfortunately, yes. The source lists common ones. We have had, found, spent, meet, met, got late, leave left, go, went. Those crop up all the time.
And asking questions in the past simple?
You use did. Did you finish the report? Did they attend the meeting? Notice the main verb goes back to its base form after did, not did you finished.
Okay, got it. Did plus subject plus base verb. Now, practical stuff again. Dates and times. Essential for meetings.
Absolutely. For telling time, you've got a clock for the hour, quarter past, half past, quarter to, and don't forget AM for morning, PM for afternoon, evening in the 12-hour system.
Right. And dates.
Right.
There's that US versus UK difference again.
There often is. US style might write month, day, year, 0510-2024, and say May 10th. UK style often writes day, month, year. When I was in 5/2/2024, it says the 10th of May, using ordinal numbers, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 10th, when speaking is common in both, though.
Good to be aware of that ambiguity if you just see numbers written down. And years.
Usually said in pairs of numbers. 1998 is 1998. 2005 is often 2005, though 2024 could be 2024.
Okay. Being precise with dates and times prevents a lot of confusion.
It really does, especially with international teams.
Let's apply that past tense now, talking about company history.
Yes, using the past simple with specific time markers. Phrases like in 1996, last year, 10 years ago, recently, at first, 2 months ago. They anchor the events in time.
And the source mentions adverbs like recently often go just before the verb.
That's a common position, yes. We recently launched a new product.
And there's specific vocabulary for describing trends over time.
Definitely. Verbs like rise, past rose, increase, increased or went up, fall, fell, remain steady, stabilize, stabilized, merged, useful for charts and reports.
Being able to narrate a company's journey using these is a valuable skill.
Very valuable for presentations, reports, even just understanding context.
Okay, shifting from past to future, making arrangements and plans.
Here, the present continuous tense pops up again, surprisingly. You can use it for fixed future plans. I'm meeting the client tomorrow at 2. It implies it's already arranged.
Interesting. And making requests politely, instead of just ordering people around.
Yes, crucial for teamwork. The source gives good options. Can you? Please? Is okay. But could you is generally softer or more polite.
And would you mind?
Even more polite, often followed by the ing form. Would you mind sending that again? And could we possibly, it's great for suggesting changes gently, could we possibly postpone the deadline?
So a range of options depending on the situation and who you're talking to. What about going to for the future?
Going to is typically for plans or intentions decided before the moment of speaking. I'm going to finish this report this afternoon. We're going to hire a new assistant.
Okay, clear distinction there. Now, meetings often involve giving opinions and sometimes interrupting. How to do that smoothly?
Politeness is key again. To interrupt, try phrases like, could I just say something? Or, sorry to interrupt, but, or maybe just, excuse me, Waiting for a slight pause helps too.
And expressing your own view.
Start gently. I think, or in my opinion, or to soften disagreement. I'm not sure I completely agree. Asking questions like, what do you think about, is also a great way to share your perspective while inviting others in.
Fosters collaboration, right? Even with differing views.
Exactly. Keeps the conversation constructive.
Building on that, agreeing and disagreeing.
Agreeing is usually straightforward. Yes, I agree. Me too. That's a good point. The source also mentions echoing the verb structure like, so do I, or neither did we.
Disagreeing needs more care, though.
Definitely. You can soften it. I see what you mean, but... Or you could be right, however. Or be a bit more direct but still polite. I'm not sure about that, or I'm afraid I disagree.
There's even I'm sorry, but I don't agree at all for stronger disagreement, but still framed politely.
Right. The phrasing matters. Focus on the issue, not the person.
Okay, let's switch to health and safety. Reflexive pronouns come up here. Myself, yourself.
Yes. They're used when the subject and object of the verb are the same person or thing. Important for clarity and safety instructions, make sure you don't injure yourself. The equipment checks itself.
It avoids ambiguity about who the action affects.
Precisely.
How about making suggestions or giving advice? If something isn't working, maybe...
Good phrases here.
Yeah.
How out and what about are usually followed by the ing form. How about trying this? What about asking IT?
And other ways.
Why don't we? Let's, and we could, are followed by the base verb. Why don't we look at the figures again? Let's take a break. We could try a different supplier. Lots of options.
The source also mentions prefixes and suffixes changing word meanings.
Just a brief touch. Prefixes like un, im, dis often make opposites like unable, impossible, disagree. Suffixes like pumful or bowl can change the meaning, and sometimes the word type. Careful, careless, useful for vocabulary building.
Right. Good to be aware of those patterns. Now, presentations. Keeping your audience on track. Signposting language.
Yes, these are phrases that guide listeners. For starting, I'd like to begin by, or today I'm going to talk about
For moving between points.
first, second, next, after that, then, simple but effective.
And for finishing.
To finish. Lastly. So to briefly recap, that's all I have to say about, and crucially, inviting questions. Does anyone have any questions?
Using those makes a presentation much easier to follow.
Much easier. Gives it structure.
Okay, nearly there. Rules and requests. Modal verbs.
Yeah, modals like can, must, have to, should are used for rules, obligations, advice. You have to wear safety glasses. You should save your work frequently.
And for polite requests, we've mentioned could you and would you mind.
Exactly. Those modals are key for politeness.
What about when things go wrong? Describing workplace problems. Past continuous.
Yes, the past continuous was swear plus ing verb is great for describing something that was in progress or a background situation when something else happened, or just an ongoing problem in the past. The printer wasn't working all morning.
And the source mentions some work idioms.
A few, yeah, like around the clock, nonstop, tied up, busy, in the red, losing money, out of order, not working, going haywire, malfunctioning badly, kept putting off, procrastinating. Idioms add color but need careful use.
True. Now, apologies and explanations, often needed when problems occur.
Absolutely. Formal apologies, I would like to apologize for, or I really must apologize for. More informal, I'm really sorry about that.
And accepting or rejecting apology.
Accepting, don't worry, that's okay, no problem. Rejecting politely might be something like, I appreciate the apology, but, or maybe, I'm afraid that's not really good enough.
And using past continuous with past simple.
Ah, yes. To show an ongoing action interrupted by another shorter action in the past. I was writing an email when the system crashed. The longer action is past continuous, the interruption is past simple.
Okay, useful structure. Let's talk tasks and targets. Present perfect.
Yes, the present perfect, have, has, plus past participle, is often used for talking about completed or uncompleted task, especially when the exact time isn't important or mentioned, or for recent events. Have you finished the report yet? I have just bought a new keyboard.
How does that contrast with the past simple?
Past simple is for actions completed at a specific time in the past. When did you fix it? I fixed it at 2:30. The specific time triggers the past simple. Present perfect focuses more on the result or completion status now.
Got it. Dealing with complaints often involves promises about the future, right? Using will.
Exactly. Will is often used for spontaneous decisions, promises, or offers made at the moment of speaking, which fits well when responding to a complaint. Thank you for letting us know. We will investigate this. We'll offer you a full refund.
Okay, let's touch on travel situations. Conditionals, first and zero.
Right. The first conditional is for possible future situations and their likely results. Structure. If plus present simple, will plus base verb. If you buy a return ticket, you will save money.
And the zero conditional.
That's for general truths, habits, or rules. Structure. If plus present simple, present simple. If your bag weighs too much, we charge a fee. It happens every time.
Clear difference. Okay, directions, imperative.
Yes, imperatives, the base form of the verb, are used for giving instructions or directions. Go straight ahead, turn left at the lights, take the second exit.
And prepositions of place are important too.
Definitely. Next to, opposite, behind, in front of, on the corner of. Essential for explaining locations.
Hotels and accommodation, the passive voice comes up.
It often does, yeah. The passive, once where plus past participle, is used when the focus is on the action or the object, not who did it. The rooms were clean this morning. Breakfast is served from 7 a.m. Who cleans or serves isn't the main point.
Makes sense in that context. Welcoming visitors, some, any.
Basic, but crucial. And for singular countable nouns, some, usually in positive statements with plural, countable or uncountable nouns. Would you like some water? There are some messages for you. Any, typically in questions and negative statements. Do you have any questions? There isn't any coffee left.
Little words, big difference in meaning, and more hospitable. Much, many, too, enough.
Much with uncountable nouns, not much time. Many with countable nouns, not many options. Too means an excessive amount, usually negative. It's too expensive. Enough means a sufficient amount. Do we have enough chairs?
Okay. Phone calls. Informal versus formal language.
Big difference sometimes. Informally. Hello, Miguel speaking. Hi, Miguel, it's Tana. Can I speak to Jan? Talk soon.
Very direct.
And formal, more structured. Thank you for calling RD Systems. How may I help you? Could I speak to Mr. Chin, please? May I ask who's calling? I'm afraid he's unavailable. Can I take a message? Much more polite phrasing.
The source also mentions adjective order briefly.
Yeah, just the basic idea that there's a common order. Opinion, size, age, color, material before the noun. A lovely, large, old, brown leather chair. You wouldn't usually say a leather, brown, large, old, lovely chair. Good to keep in mind. Applying for jobs? CV action verbs. Yes. Using strong action verbs makes a CV much more impactful. The source lists examples like managed, negotiated, established, coordinated, supervised, arranged, determined, organized, volunteered, collaborated. Much better than just saying responsible for.
Definitely stronger. Finally, email communication. Sign off.
Formal emails often end with yours sincerely, if you know the name, or yours faithfully if you started yours from Madam, though that's less common now. Or more generally, best regards, kind regards. Using titles like Dear Mr., Miss, Doctor plus last name is standard formality.
And informal emails.
Can end with all the best, cheers, thanks. Much more relaxed.
Wow, okay. We've covered a huge amount of ground there, from basic greetings right through to handling complaints and writing CVs.
We really have. It touches on so many core aspects of using English effectively in a professional environment. It gives you, the learner, a really solid foundation, I think.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic shortcut to grasping these essentials without getting lost. You can see how all these pieces fit together to help you communicate clearly and confidently.
Hopefully you've had a few of those aha moments along the way, seeing the practical relevance.
So for you, the learner, this deep dive provides that starting point. The next step is obviously putting it into practice, maybe focusing on the areas you feel you need most.
And that brings us to our final thought for you to mull over. Reflecting on your own job, your own interactions. Which of these business English basics feel most relevant right now? Which ones jump out as something you could use tomorrow, or perhaps an area you want to strengthen?
Thinking about that connection between these skills and your own career goals is a really powerful way to keep learning.